rain tapped gently against the window pane, a soft lullaby to a restless night. Sarah sat at the edge of her bed, staring at an old photograph in her hands. It was a picture of her and her husband, Tariq, taken 7 years ago during their honeymoon in Istanbul. She traced the edges of his smiling face with her thumb, tears spilling over, despite her best efforts to contain them. Tariq had been her anchor, steady, kind, and endlessly optimistic. They'd built a life together, full of laughter and dreams. But 2 years ago, everything changed. It had started as a fever, nothing unusual. Tariq had insisted he was fine, brushing off Sarah's worries with his usual humor. "It's just a bug," he'd said, grinning as he sipped the lemon and honey tea she'd made. "I'll be back on my feet in no time." But he wasn't. The fever worsened, turning into a relentless illness that baffled doctors. Within weeks, he was gone. The memory of that day still haunted Sarah. The sterile smell of the hospital, the muffled sobs of the nurses, and the crushing weight of realizing she was alone. Her world had fallen apart in an instant, and yet life hadn't stopped. There were bills to pay, a child to raise, and a future to figure out, all without Tariq by her side. Sarah wiped her tears and glanced at the clock. It was nearly midnight, and Ayaan was fast asleep in the next room. She knew she needed to rest, but her mind wouldn't stop racing. Every day felt like a battle, a constant struggle to keep going when all she wanted was to stop and grieve. She sighed deeply, setting the photo on her bedside table. "Ya Allah," she whispered into the stillness of the room. "Give me strength. Help me be enough for Ayaan." It was a prayer she repeated often, though she wasn't sure if she believed it anymore. Her faith had been her lifeline once, but after Tariq's death, it felt like a distant memory. She still prayed, still wore her hijab, still recited the occasional Quran verse, but her heart wasn't in it. Her thoughts were interrupted by a small voice from the doorway. "Mama?" Sarah turned to see Ayaan, his pajama-clad figure illuminated by the hallway light. His curls were tousled, and he clutched his stuffed bear tightly. "What is it, sweetheart?" she asked, forcing a smile. "I had a bad dream," he murmured, climbing onto her lap. Sarah held him close, kissing the top of his head. "It's okay, Ayaan. Mama's here. You're safe." He looked up at her with wide, tearful eyes. "Is Baba in Jannah?" The question hit her like a blow. Ayaan was still too young to fully understand death, but he knew enough to miss his father deeply. "Yes, darling," Sarah said, her voice trembling. "Baba is in Jannah, and he's watching over us." Ayaan nodded solemnly, resting his head on her chest. "Do you think he misses us too?" Sarah's throat tightened. "I think he misses us very much," she said, stroking his hair. "But he's happy there, and one day, inshallah, we'll see him again." As she rocked Ayaan back to sleep, Sarah felt a flicker of something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Perhaps she couldn't change the past, but she could still shape the future. For Ayaan's sake, and her own, she had to find her way back to Allah. That night, after putting Ayaan back to bed, Sarah performed wudu and prayed 2 rak'ahs, her tears falling freely as she made sujud. "Ya Allah," she whispered, her voice breaking, "help me, guide me. I don't know how to do this without you." The morning light spilled into the apartment, chasing away the remnants of Sarah's restless night. She sat at the kitchen table, sipping her chai and watching Ayaan methodically stack his cereal into a precarious tower. His face was a picture of concentration, his small hands steady as he added one piece after another. "Careful," Sarah warned gently, but her lips curved into a smile. "Mama," Ayaan said without looking up, "can we go to the park today?" "The park?" she echoed, surprised by the sudden request. "Yeah. Baba used to take me to the big one with the swings. I want to go there." Sarah's smile faltered. The park. Tariq had loved their weekend outings, always insisting on packing sandwiches and making it an event. It had been over a year since Sarah had taken Ayaan there. She hesitated, glancing at the clock. She had a shift at the bakery later, but the morning was free. "Okay," she said finally. "We'll go after breakfast." Ayaan's face lit up, and he cheered, his cereal tower toppling in the process. Sarah laughed, the sound surprising even herself. The park was just as Sarah remembered. Wide open spaces, lush greenery, and the distant sound of children's laughter. Ayaan raced toward the swings, his excitement contagious. As she watched him play, Sarah's mind drifted. This park held so many memories of Tariq. She could almost see him standing by the slide, waving at Ayaan, his laughter ringing out as they chased each other across the grass. Her chest tightened. How was she supposed to move forward when everything reminded her of what she'd lost? She was startled out of her thoughts by a voice voice. "Sarah, is that you?" Turning, she saw Layla, her childhood friend, jogging toward her. Layla looked the same as ever, confident and radiant, her hijab perfectly styled despite the wind. "Layla!" Sarah exclaimed, a genuine smile spreading across her face. "It's been ages." They hugged tightly, and for a moment Sarah felt a warmth she hadn't realized she'd been missing. The two women sat on a bench, catching up as Ayan played nearby. Layla listened intently as Sarah recounted her struggles, her voice wavering as she spoke of Tariq. "I feel like I'm failing," Sarah admitted, her hands twisting nervously in her lap. "I'm trying to be strong for Ayan, but some days it's just too much." Layla reached out, placing a comforting hand on Sarah's arm. "You're not failing, Sarah. You're surviving, and that's no small thing." But she hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "Have you tried leaning on Allah more? I know it's hard when you're grieving, but He's the one who can ease your pain." Sarah looked down, her eyes stinging with unshed tears. "I don't know how anymore. I feel disconnected, like I'm just going through the motions." Layla nodded thoughtfully. "It's okay to feel that way. Faith isn't always about feeling. It's about doing. Even when your heart isn't in it, you keep praying, keep making dua. The connection will come, inshallah. You just have to take the first step." Her words stayed with Sarah long after their conversation ended. That evening, as Ayan colored pictures of the park and the friends he'd made, Sarah found herself sitting quietly with her Quran. It had been so long since she'd opened it. The familiar weight of the book in her hands brought a strange mix of comfort and sorrow. She turned to a random page, her eyes falling on a verse she'd learned as a child. "And we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger and a loss of wealth and lives and fruits, but give good tidings to the patient." Quran 2:155. The words hit her like a wave. Fear, loss, hunger. She was living this test every day, but the verse didn't stop there. It reminded her of sabr, of patience, and the promise of ease that followed hardship. She closed the Quran, her heart heavier, yet somehow lighter. She wasn't alone. Allah had always been with her, even when she'd felt abandoned. That night, as she tucked Ayan into bed, he looked up at her with wide, innocent eyes. "Mama, can we go to the masjid tomorrow?" Sarah blinked, caught off guard. "The masjid?" "Yeah," he said, smiling sleepily. "Baba used to say we should go there and talk to Allah." Tears pricked her eyes, but she nodded. "Okay, Ayan, we'll go." As she left his room, she felt a flicker of something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time, she was ready to take the next step. The masjid was bustling with life when Sarah and Ayan arrived for Duhur Salah the next day. The rhythmic hum of quiet conversations and the faint aroma of musk greeted them as they stepped inside. Ayan clutched Sarah's hand, his eyes wide with curiosity as he took in the sight of men and women preparing for prayer. "Mama," he whispered excitedly. "Look, everyone's here." Sarah smiled, squeezing his hand. "Yes, sweetheart, this is where we all come to worship Allah together." She led him to the women's section, where they performed wudu and waited for the prayer to begin. Ayan mimicked her every move with a blend of focus and excitement, his small face lighting up with pride when he got a thumbs up from Sarah. As the call to prayer echoed through the masjid, Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine. It had been so long since she'd stood in a congregation, surrounded by others bowing and prostrating before Allah. There was something deeply humbling about the unity of it all, a reminder that she wasn't alone in her struggles. During the Salah, Sarah's heart began to soften. As she recited Al-Fatiha, the words took on a meaning she hadn't felt in years. "Guide us to the straight path, the straight path." She had wandered so far from it, but here she was, trying to find her way back. As she bowed in ruku and placed her forehead on the ground in sujud, she felt an unexpected surge of emotion. "Ya Allah," she whispered silently, her tears dampening the prayer mat. "I'm here. Help me to trust you again." After the prayer, as Ayan played with a group of children outside, Sarah lingered in the masjid, soaking in the tranquility. She found herself drawn to a shelf lined with Qurans and Islamic books. Her fingers grazed the spine of a book titled Healing Through the Quran. "Looks like a good one," a voice said behind her. Sarah turned to see a woman with a kind smile and a neatly wrapped hijab. "I've read it," the woman continued. "It helped me a lot after my husband passed away." Sarah's breath caught. "Your husband?" The woman nodded. "It's been 5 years now. It's not easy, but Allah never leaves us without His mercy." The woman's words struck a chord. They exchanged names. Her name was Fatima, and before long, Sarah found herself sharing her own story. "I feel like I've been running on empty," Sarah admitted. "I've been trying to stay strong for my son, but I don't know how to heal." Fatima nodded empathetically. "Healing takes time, sister, and faith. When my husband passed, I thought I'd never recover. But then I realized something. Every hardship we face is an opportunity to get closer to Allah. I started small, just one ayah of Quran a day, one extra dua. Slowly, my heart began to heal." Her words lingered in Sarah's mind as she left the masjid with Ayan. She decided to buy the book Fatima had recommended, hoping it might guide her in the same way. That evening, Sarah made a new routine. After putting Ayan to bed, she opened the book and began with a short chapter on sabr, patience. It included the verse, "So be patient. Indeed, the promise of Allah is truth." Quran 30:60. The commentary explained how patience wasn't just about enduring hardships. It was about trusting in Allah's plan, even when the path seemed unclear. For the first time in months, Sarah felt a glimmer of understanding. Her pain, her struggles, they weren't meaningless. They were part of a test, one that could bring her closer to Allah if she chose to embrace it. She closed the book, her heart lighter than it had been in years. Before sleeping, she knelt on her prayer mat and made a dua. "Ya Allah, I know I've been distant, but I'm trying. Please guide me and help me to heal. Help me to be a good mother to Ayan and a servant pleasing to you. Ameen." The days that followed weren't perfect, but they were filled with small victories. Sarah began to recite Quran with Ayan each evening, teaching him short surahs like Al-Ikhlas and Al-Falaq. She attended the masjid more often, finding solace in the community and the reminders of Allah's mercy. One afternoon, as she folded laundry, Ayan bounded into the room, a wide grin on his face. "Mama, I made a new friend at the masjid," he announced proudly. "His name is Yusuf, and he said he wants to play with me every time we go." Sarah laughed, her heart swelling with gratitude. "That's wonderful, Ayan. I'm so proud of you." As she watched her son's enthusiasm, she realized something profound. Ayan wasn't just a reminder of what she'd lost. He was a source of strength, a reason to keep moving forward. The sun was setting, painting the sky with hues of amber and pink as Sarah and Ayan walked home from the masjid. Ayan chattered happily about his day, his excitement bubbling over with each step. Yusuf said we should have a picnic at the park. "Can we, Mama? Please," he pleaded, skipping ahead on the sidewalk. Sarah chuckled. "We'll see, sweetheart. Maybe this weekend." Her heart felt lighter these days, as if a heavy fog was finally lifting. The past weeks had been a mix of small, intentional changes. She was waking up for Fajr more consistently, carving out moments to recite Quran, and seeking strength in her duas. And though her grief hadn't vanished, it no longer consumed her. As they reached their apartment, a familiar voice called out, "Sarah, salam!" Turning, she saw Layla waving from across the street, her toddler balanced on her hip. "Layla," Sarah greeted warmly, opening the door for her friend. "Come in. It's been too long." Inside, the two women caught up over chai while the children played in the living room. Layla's presence was like a balm to Sarah, a reminder of the friendships she had neglected in her grief. As they spoke, Layla's face turned serious. "Sarah, I've been meaning to ask, have you thought about volunteering at the masjid? They're looking for someone to help with the children's Quran classes." Sarah blinked, caught off guard. "Me? I don't think I'm qualified. I'm still trying to find my own footing in the deen." Layla smiled gently. "That's exactly why you should do it. Teaching others, especially children, can strengthen your own faith. And you're amazing with kids. MashaAllah. Just think about it." That night, as Sarah reflected on Layla's suggestion, she felt a mix of apprehension and curiosity. Could she really contribute to something so meaningful? She decided to perform istikhara, seeking Allah's guidance. The next morning, she woke with a sense of clarity. Ayan was thrilled when she told him the news. "You'll be teaching kids like me, Mama?" he asked excitedly. "That's the plan," she said with a smile. "Let's see how it goes." The first day of volunteering was nerve-wracking, but it quickly became a source of joy. The children's enthusiasm was infectious, and Sarah found herself energized mesmerized by their curiosity and eagerness to learn. One afternoon, after a lesson on the story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, a little girl raised her hand. "Miss Sarah," she asked, her eyes wide, "why did Prophet Musa trust Allah so much?" Sarah paused, her heart stirring at the question. "Because he knew Allah would never abandon him, no matter how hard things got," she said softly. "And Allah never did." The words felt as much for herself as they were for the children. Weeks turned into months, and Sarah began to see changes in herself. The Quran lessons reminded her of Allah's endless mercy and wisdom. The community at the masjid became a second family, offering support and encouragement at every turn. One evening, as she sat on the couch with Ayan, he leaned his head against her shoulder. "Mama, I think Baba would be happy," he said suddenly. Sarah's breath caught. "Why do you say that, sweetheart?" "Because you're happy now," he said simply, "and you're teaching other kids about Allah, just like Baba used to teach me." Tears filled her eyes, but this time they were tears of gratitude. Ayan was right. Though the pain of Tariq's loss would always remain, it no longer defined her. She was finding purpose in her faith, her family, and her community. That night, Sarah made a special dua. "Ya Allah, thank you for guiding me back to you. Thank you for giving me the strength to move forward and the opportunity to help others. Please continue to guide me and make me a source of benefit to those around me. Ameen." As she closed her eyes, she felt a deep sense of peace. The journey hadn't been easy, but it had brought her closer to Allah, closer to Ayan, and closer to herself. And for the first time in years, Sarah looked toward the future with hope. Life's challenges can feel overwhelming, but as Sarah's journey reminds us, there's always a path back to peace and purpose through faith. If her story resonated with you, take a moment today to reflect on your own connection with Allah. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories of faith and resilience. Let's spread the message of hope and the oneness of Allah together. Thank you for watching, and may Allah guide us all on our journeys. Ameen.